A lot of you may have used this app, or perhaps this one, or this one. Well, have you ever wondered when you open any food ordering app and see that long list of restaurants, where does all that data come from? You also see your payment address when you go to the checkout. Where does this address come from? And this happens on several other apps like Uber, Netflix, Amazon Prime, etc. So, we know that some of the data we see is common for everyone, while some of it is personalized, and hence cannot be the same for everyone, right? But where does this data come from? Is this data then present in the app or the phone? Does it come from the internet? Three tough options. We think it's the third one. What do you think? Well, it's mostly the third one. Sometimes the data may be present in the app. For example, when we mark some songs as favorites. Sometimes the data is present in our phones. For example, the contact list of photos that we have in our phones. But mostly, the data that our apps display is fetched from the internet. Most apps fetch the data that they show from the internet. Which means that the app won't work if you do not have an internet connection. And you must have experienced this too, when there is no internet and the app does not open, saying that could not connect to the internet, please check your network. So, in the previous topic we made this list and the data here was static, that is, we stored it in our app. Now, if we want to fetch this data from the internet, we need to connect our apps to the internet, right? This is what we will learn in this topic. So let's begin. First things first, let's look at a few things that we must know to understand what goes on behind the scenes when we connect our app to the internet and share data over the internet. First, the device must be connected to the internet. That is, either you should use mobile data or Wi-Fi, etc. Second, the app must be connected to the internet. And since the app does not have an internet connection of its own, we can simply use the internet of the device. For this, the app must have permission to use the device's internet. Once the app has permission, the app must be able to make a successful connection to the place from where it needs the data. This point must be a little confusing for some. Look at it this way. When we say the internet, what do we mean? A lot of devices connected together by some means. These devices are the servers, and these are the devices that we use in our everyday lives, right? When we say the app will fetch data from the internet, from where are we fetching this data? Well, we are fetching it from a box or a file that is placed on a server, which is connected to the internet. This box where our data is stored is known as the database, which is present on the server. But we cannot directly fetch the data from the database. So, the app uses an intermediary program known as the API, which is also a part of the server. Our app communicates with the server via an intermediary program. This is the API. This is what we mean by when we say the app must be able to make a successful connection to the API. So coming back to this list, once the connection is established with the API is able to send data to our app. In the next step, the app reads the data that it has received from the API. Once the data is read, the app should be able to make sense of the data and understand it. And once the data is understood, the app will put this data in the correct places and display it to the user. For example, it will place the list of restaurants in its view holder, etc. So, we see these 7 points, which are the basic requirements every time we want to receive or send data over the internet. In case of sending data, everything remains the same, just that instead of the API sending data to the app sends it to the API. In this topic, we will learn 2 things. 1, we will learn how to give permission to the app to connect to the internet of the device. And second, we will learn how to check whether the app is connected to the internet or not. So, stay tuned and click next whenever you are ready.